G'day, my name's Tansy. I'm a nutritionist and author of the book Joyful Eating, How to Break Free of Diets and Make Peace with Your Body. And later this year I'll have my first children's book come out, which is a really fun look at foods and how we have a tendency to put foods against each other, and just sharing as well that we all have different taste preferences and there's no perfect way to eat. So I've got a few books coming out, and while I'm waiting for that and also writing some other books, I thought it'd be a good time to start reading some more children's books myself and tapping into that little child within me. So what I wanted to do is just read maybe a little section of some books, and also do a little bit of a overview of some of the key points that I think come through in the book from a nutritional perspective, and particularly with eating psychology. That's how we relate to the food, the why and the how we eat, more so than what we eat. So the first book that I wanted to share is an important one for me, and it is Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Suess. This is a book that I read a lot as a child, and if you haven't read it yourselves, definitely do, and I'll read the full book in another video for those of you who haven't. But if you haven't read it, it's probably because you've lived in a box, maybe with a fox, or maybe you've lived on a boat with a goat. So it's a funny sort of rhyming book about Sam I Am trying to share his green eggs and ham. And for me, it was a big book and a memory for me, because I remember reading it and saying to my mother, because we were vegetarians our entire lives, that I'd never tried ham and I didn't know what ham was like. And so for my 8th birthday, I had bacon and eggs for breakfast, which sort of fits in really nicely with the book, because essentially the book is about Sam I Am trying to get his friend to eat green eggs and ham, and he shares all these different ways to eat green eggs and ham, and he's adamant that he doesn't like green eggs and ham. So I can just read you a little example. I could not, would not, on a boat. I will not with a goat. I will not eat them in the rain. I will not eat them on a train. Not in the dark, not in a tree, not in a car. You let me be. I do not like them in a box. I do not like them with a fox. I will not eat them in a house. I will not eat them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. And then when he finally tries the green eggs and ham, he realizes that he likes them. So I think some lessons that come through this book, if you're wanting to talk through the book with your children, whether it's your own children or it's a classroom, is that not all of us want to try all foods, and none of us all like the same foods, and that's okay. And I think sometimes when we're trying to introduce someone to a new food or convince them that they like a food, we can push that food onto someone, and that's not really the best way to help people to become more curious and try new foods. That sort of pressure and trying to convince or bribe a child to eat a certain food can actually enhance their aversion to those foods. So I think, one of the lessons in the book is how much Sam I Am is trying to push green eggs and ham onto him, and that's not a great way to introduce someone to a new food. We're wanting to increase curiosity and show children new foods without that pressure. But at the same time, there's that other message that comes through the book of don't knock it until you try it. So, not assuming that you won't like something if you don't try. So we can encourage the trying of new foods, but in a non-pressurized way, and without imposing rules. Just have one bite or have one more bite, or Think of the food wastage, just keep eating that. So it's more about having it present on the table there as an option for children to try, and they may or may not try it. And after a number of exposures, they may open up to that, or maybe seeing it at a friend's house or at a party or at school or something like that. So I think sometimes we can give up on trying to introduce foods to children because it can be really disheartening if they don't want to try something. But it's just having those foods available if other people in the family are eating those foods. And I think another thing that comes through the book for me is just this idea of don't yuck my yum. Like if I think something's yummy, like if I think green ham, eggs and ham is yummy, then that's okay. And, someone else might say that's really yuck, that I like that. But, each of us has our own taste preferences, and just because someone else doesn't like what we like doesn't necessarily make that wrong. Whatever we like is perfectly fine. So I think that's sort of the three main messages around this book is not pushing foods onto someone, helping to be curious and teaching children to be a little bit curious. You never really know until you try something, but in a way that's not forced. And that, there's some obscure combinations of foods that we like, and that's okay. And, saying yuck to someone's yum can really affect their relationship to food and affect their adventurousness with food. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that. And if you want to read the book, I'll be reading that up next.